Hey everyone, welcome once again to the Iconist Podcast. Thank you as always for tuning in. I'm one of your hosts, Barry 3D, and you know the links are down below. As always, I'm sitting here with the man, the myth, the legend, the one that's got the turntables going all through the holidays, more reliable than Mariah Carey on her one-hit wonder, All I Want for Christmas. Dang! That's right, I said it. Who am I talking about? Man, my cousin.
DJ Rod C. Oh my goodness. We won't get into that now. We won't get into that at all. Oh God.
You know they only thaw her out once a year. Come on, man.
She's a Christmas winter soldier. That's what she's doing.
Exactly. She's a Christmas winter soldier. Thawed out once a year for one mission. Make that sale. Woo!
Nice.
Cheese. And we're just going to get right into it. But we're going to do one shout out, of course. Not one shout out is the man who makes us look so pretty. And if you need any work done, you just tell him you heard about him on the Iconist Podcast, and he'll give you a discount. And who am I talking about? The one and only
J Bird Digital Art.
J Bird Digital Arts. You want to see him? Check the links at the end of the video, and then check our links down below for anyone that's listening on where you stream your podcast from. And this is a man who'll do your templates, posters, any kind of graphic designs. He's got you covered. Woo! Holidays are good. We're having a good time, and we're back. And here we go. And we're just jumping right into it. We started this whole kind of world, and we're bad for not kind of continuing things at times. So this time we really wanted to make sure we followed through with everyone we said we go follow through. And this time, yeah. And who's left? No one, but last but least, not saying the best for last.
Best for last, like good wild. We keep it to the end.
That's right. That's right. Daughters of the Dragon. Now, if anyone watched the Netflix series with Luke Cage,
right?
Iron Fist, the Defenders, they made their appearance in there. And you might not have known exactly who they were unless you were like a hardcore fan down to our level. Okay. But for the casual person, you're like, oh, they're passing by characters. And no, they own entity. Okay, let's go back. So once again, we've covered White Tiger. From where? The deadly hands of Kung Fu. We've covered the sons of the tiger. Where? From the deadly hands of Kung Fu. And once again, we are back, third time's the charm, with the deadly hands of Kung Fu. With the Daughters of the Dragon. The name just, as I said before, everyone was Kung Fu fighting back in the 70s, man. And Daughters of the Dragon consisted of two main characters. That's just the two of them. That was the tag team right there. They were like almost the female version of Power Man and Iron Fist.
Facts.
Heroes for hire.
Yes, that would have been the beautiful baseline of, that's basically what they are. That's basically what they were. They were the female version, the female entities of Heroes for Hire.
Exactly. That's how I took it. Now, they made their very first appearance in issue number 32 in the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. They were one of the backup stories. So that was a Marvel magazine. And I stress that because it was in a larger format. It was in a magazine format as opposed to a comic book format. Right. The covers were in color. The pages inside were black and white. And they were in the last two issues of that series of Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. So they made their first appearance in issue number 32 and issue 33, which was because they had their two-part kind of origin introduction into the world of that. And the members were Colleen Wing and Misty Knight. Now, on top of it, they also had another name within the comic. It's a comic within a comic almost, right? The comic book was called Daughters of the Dragon. That's fine. But their organization they worked for was Nightwing. They were investigators. And that was Nightwing Investigations, Nightwing, Respiration, whatever it is, but it was Nightwing.
And it's a good pair off their name. That's it. You got Misty Knight, Colleen Wing, Nightwing Investigations. Like I said, they were basically, to me, if you really go back and look at Heroes for Hire, they were more private detective. They were more of just the helping the common man, whatever. Colleen and Misty, they were more of the higher end. They were like saying, we're a profit entity. Listen, we're making sure we got enough money to pay our rooms, our offices. Yep. Is that what you can do, Luke? then, that's another bunch of jokes, but we won't get into that.
Well, it's very true, mate, because Power Man and Iron Fist were heroes for hire, where Colleen and Misty were investigators. So they had they operated a higher budget. They had themselves more organized. Where I thought Heroes for Hire was more popular because they were more flashy, Colleen and Misty were more smarter about what they did and did a lot of stuff that, sometimes you didn't even know they were on a mission.
Right.
So the two of them might seem like an odd pairing. And if you don't know, okay, so Misty Knight, African-American, let's just say black. Let's, I ain't gonna get all that. Let's get back to basics. Okay. And Colleen Wing was mixed. So she was half white and half Japanese. So her mom was Japanese, with a lineage that she was able to trace back to her grandfather and even her great grandfather. That line were all samurais. They were all trained as classic samurais. And when Colleen was born, her mom only had one child. Her parents only had one child, and that was Colleen. They never had a boy. And, then that's where they changed. They said, well, usually we always train the boys, but that's the only child you have. That we're going to continue with our tradition. And they trained Colleen to be a samurai from Ute, from a picnic.
As soon as you could pick up the blade, okay, let's begin. Right.
So this is where she's coming in. So she's been trained from a little girl her whole life in the Bushido code, the way of the samurai. Her holding a sword is like second nature. It's like her right hand. She feels no way about it. But don't make no mistake about that. She is a very skilled martial artist. Extremely skilled martial artist. Like, she's up there with Iron Fist, Shang-Chi. She can hold her own with that group. The Sons of the Tiger, White Tiger. She can hold her own. And it's not to say that any of them will be over her or have advantages. If any of them were, let's say you take away Iron Fist, and just on pure skill, well, she's there. So this is why I thought these characters should have had more. And I was really hoping when Netflix came out with Luke Cage and Iron Fist, I was hoping for a true Heroes for Hire series.
Yes.
Instead of Defenders. And I was really hoping for a good spin-off of Daughters of the Dragon. That, to me, would have been a lot more playing field. And people know more Iron Fist and Power Man together as Heroes for Hire, but Daughters of the Dragon, to me, would have been a totally different thing. And those two have been around for various ways. So, Misty Knight, when she was doing the role, when Misty Knight is a character, we know as fans, she gets the bionic arm.
Right.
So a lot of us, including myself, all the time I saw the actress playing her, and I'm like, she's got to lose the arm. She's got to lose the arm. And Netflix teased me because there's a lot of situations where she got shot in the arm, hit in the arm, cut in the arm, and you're like, this is it. Oh, no.
That's it. Right there.
Here we go. Oh, man, she dodged. It's the one time I was really hoping for the character to get maimed.
Exactly. Like, those who know, we're like, it's any moment now. Oh, man. Come on. Any moment now. Come on, man.
That must have been weird for the actress, too, that was playing her, because every time she was turning around, it was like, I'm getting all this probably fan mail of people saying, can't wait till you lose the arm. It's like, what?
Director, is this for real? Oh, yeah. Remember, just read a little further on in the book, so you'll get to the part. Oh,
yeah.
Snap.
Yeah, and the Daughters of the Dragon, right? They were the first time they officially got their name, Daughters of the Dragon, was in Marvel Team Up number 64 in December of 1977. So that's where that name came from. But as Rod pointed out, it was Colleen Wing, Misty Knight, Nightwing. Okay, so their origin a little bit differently, of course, than what we see on Netflix.
Right,
but they showed up in key moments. So if you go back, and now, sorry, I'm jumping the gun here a little bit. Let me just give you some history so show you how happy I am. So the people who created these two characters, it was created by Chris Claremont, thank you, and Marshall Rogers, thank you. I have to say, and he was the artist, so Chris Claremont is a writer. This is very important because, to me, there's certain writers and artists that get together, and I think they mesh very well. I don't know if there's any other strife behind the scenes, but in front of the scenes, for a fan facing, mesh very well. And Chris Claremont, what he did with Marshall Rogers and that introduction, the art, I liked it. I really did. But my favorite team up is Chris with John Bryan. They did the best, the most, well, I mean, people have their opinions about it, but I figured at the time they had the most notable run on the X-Men.
Right.
And those two worked together on multiple projects. So when Iron Fist had his own series, it was that team there. Like John Bryan wrote that team. Right. And just like the Netflix special, well, series, I would say, Colleen shows up in Iron Fist. And there's a good 3-way battle. So they two got to get introduced. And then Sabretooth gets in there and they have to go and fight Sabretooth. And then at one point, Colleen Wing, after the death of Jean Grey, is dating Scott Summers from the X-Men.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good on Chris for keeping them going.
Right. Keeping the universe going in that regard.
Yes, absolutely. So with what they've done, so that's Colleen's role right there. She's got the martial arts. She's got a mixed background. You know, we're going to say mixed. She identifies herself more Japanese than she does as a white American. Even her grandfather was like, okay, she's got the heart of a Japanese warrior. She doesn't see herself as white. She sees herself as Japanese. That's how deep in the culture this girl was. Mm-hmm. Now, not to take away, we got Misty Knight. Misty Knight, American. And her story was, I believe she still was a police officer. Correct. And then she ended up stopping a bomb, and that's how she lost her arm. So it's different than how it was in a Netflix series. Mm-hmm. But of course, when she lost her arm, she gets a bionic arm at first, and then at one point she gets upgrades to it. So she's like, and it's only her right arm that's bionic. The rest of her body, the rest of her is all skill. So she does have police training. She, with small weapons, hand-to-hand combat. Yep. And it gets a little bit more advanced because, of course, she's hanging out with Colleen and Iron Fist and the rest of them. So really with Colleen and her and Colleen would, clicked off. When the two of them got together on that first story, they you tell in the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu number 32, they really talked about it real quick, that Colleen says, hey, I'm here. And that's her first story arc. Is she gets introduced, they walk into a bar, they're asking questions. And then it turns around that, everyone tries to jump them in the bar, of course, and they're in Hong Kong. And she has a flashback during, when she had a face-to-face confrontation with one guy, remembering that her grandfather was killed. Her grandfather who taught her, who raised her, he was her paternal guardian. He adopted her and raised her. Turned around and ended up being killed off by this other guy. And during that, she said, well, I have to avenge him. That's the samurai way. It's a code. I have to avenge him. Her uncle shows up and it's like, hey, you know what? I know, if I wasn't lame, I would get into it. I also run the Secret Service for Hong Kong, but I can't bring them into a family affair because of its honor. My sons, I would have turned to them to kind of seek revenge, but they were both killed off during a war. So the only person left for revenge is you. Do you understand the way of the code? And she's like, oh yeah. And
grandfather taught me well.
Grandfather taught her well, right? Like, I mean, this is like really coming up to, to certain feels like almost like Kill Bill. Yeah. When Uma Thurman was being trained by the old master, and I'm like, okay, and with the sword and all that, I'm like, I don't know if Quentin Tarantino ever read Daughters of the Dragon, but I see
similarities. Similarities indeed.
Right?
Oh, my child.
And then we get into Misty Knight. So Misty Knight cop turns around, loses her arm. And during that exchange, she turns around and says, hey, Misty, I wish you weren't here. I could have, I would do this debt of honor on my own. And Misty's like, no, I owe you for saving my life. But they don't get into it too much. So obviously we know there was a bond of friendship that formed. I want to see more of that.
Got it.
And being around that, they were around from like the 70s. Okay. Up to today. And for the longest time, all they did was show up in other people's books. And they finally got their own miniseries, their own books. They never had a really ongoing series. I think that's the only thing that kind of hurt them. So just to show you, you had, for example, Daughters of the Dragon, Samurai Bullets, 6-issue series, miniseries, and that was back in October 11th of 2006. You had Shadowland, Street Heroes. So Shadowland, that's Daughters of the Dragon, Daughters of the Shadow, issues 1 to 3, and then Shadowland with Bullseye, Elektra, Ghost Rider, and Spider-Man.
Right.
And that was another kind of thing going on with the whole Shadowland storyline. And that was running of March 9th of 2011. And then, we had Daughters of the Dragon Deep Cuts. I love that. And that was, volume 2 was a 3-issue miniseries. And that was in February 19th of 2019. So out of that, if you really want to catch them, you got to read all the books. You got to catch, Iron Fist and Power Man, a little bit of the X-Men, of course, Shang-Chi, some of the other martial arts heroes.
Right. So you see, the good thing I like about seeing that you basically gave them the list of these characters, again, the longevity from the 70s up to now. And we can see literally from the span of what you just said, 2006 to 2019. That's basically like an average of 15 years of keeping their story alive within the Marvel universe. I can't believe I'm saying that, but at least in the Marvel comic universe, and still keeping it tied and bringing people's attention. Like you said, I agree. Bringing this conversation to light, bringing these characters back to light in a sense. So not even saying back to light, but showing people that they're still relevant, because only as of this date right now, we're talking about 2.5 years ago that this last volume was published.
Right.
So
exactly.
It's still relevant here that we can still talk about the Daughters of the Dragon, talk about Misty, talk about Colleen, and it's not too far. All I'll just say is in regards to, like, even when the flipping with the show, having them appear in the show, I'm kind of going back. I'm kind of like wanted to jump or just tag on what you were saying earlier in regards to hoping something spins off of them in the Netflix series. Because one came in Luke Cage, one came in Iron Fist, then they both came in Defenders, and they worked out through there. I would have liked to have seen the spinoff of Heroes for Hire. Then at that point, you bring them in more, which give them the ability to then go into Daughters of Dragon or Nightwing investigation into that realm. That to me would have been the progression of bringing their own sole series on Netflix. Yes, it's paused for now.
Right.
So anything is possible that someone can go and unpause and release the dragons.
Oh, release the dragons. Release. Yes.
That's
right.
All it is.
Release the dragons. So for all the things you're saying, I love the idea. I love what was happening, and I was very excited. And I was as much as I wanted to see Power Man and Iron Fist, Heroes for Hire, I wanted to see more Daughters of the Dragon. I like the 2 actresses that they got for them. So for Colleen Wing was played by Jessica
Simone.
Henwick.
Oh, Colleen. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Colleen. My bad. You're right.
And then Simone Missick was playing Misty Knight.
Yeah.
I thought that was great casting already. We're not fan casting up because if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Don't try to fix it.
Don't try to fix it.
Let's go.
Just bring them back.
Yeah.
Bring them back. Especially with right now, we're always looking for diversity. We're looking for more female leads. That is the perfect show. It's already written. And and even though it's got a good backbone, it's got a lot more, you can add on to that plate. You can put some, it could be a whole smorgasbord of what you can add on to that plate. The only person that I would love to see maybe a part of that cast as a cameo, because they did it with all the other shows, is bring back Rosario Dawson as Clara Temple, the night nurse.
Yeah. She's a thread who just basically was connecting all the others one. So in my head, honestly, I would have already assumed or expect when they do the spinoff,
yeah,
she'll be there on pause. That's all I would have said.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So now that these properties are now back with Marvel, Disney Plus, this is it's done. It's here's a couple of things. One, there's a lot more freedom with them to write something really groundbreaking for these two characters. Two, do not change the actresses that have already played these roles. Rosario, Dawson to come in there and be the common thread.
Yeah.
And what I liked about the comic book, it didn't do the obvious. Right? And what I mean by didn't do the obvious, very simple. Luke Cage, he's black. Misty Knight, she's black. Colleen Wing, right? She's half, Japanese and half white. Okay. And Iron Fist, well, he's white, but he's into Asian culture because he's a martial artist. It didn't put, Colleen Wing and Iron Fist together as a couple and Luke Cage and Misty Knight together as a couple.
Right.
I always liked that. I really like the fact that they said Colleen Wing, was just doing her own thing. Misty Knight has an on and off relationship with Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. She even gets, in Shadowland storyline with Daredevil doing the whole Shadowland. She becomes pregnant and they have a kid. From, I know she was pregnant, supposed to have the kid. I admit I dropped off on the reading on that part. So I don't know if they actually ever went through and did the whole pregnancy angle or not. But that was a couple that was always on and off, was those two. So you have interracial relationship. And it's not even to say that they have to have those two in there. Make the Daughters of the Dragon main, front and center. You can put Iron Fist and Luke Cage more in the background. They've got enough popularity. People know who they are. We're really trying to get some things going with them. So talking with Nightwing, investigations, talking Colleen Wing, talking about how their investigating style are, how she's more, even though she's calm, she's the one that's really more in your face, and Misty Knight's more methodical. That's a beautiful team up.
Yeah, because it was. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
I want to see it in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Again, because of Misty's understanding, her being a police officer and anything like that, we also got to remind everybody in the sense that she was a superb detective. She was like at the top of her class, when she graduated from police academy. So this is where the analytical aspect of the Misty Knight's investigation comes in. You got like the brains and the bronze in that type of realm of that combination. Now they're both are brawn. They'll just take you out. You don't want to meet any of them in an alley. Someone with an arm, someone with a blade. Both are metal. I don't think your chances are good. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. But you can see who's going to take you out in the shadows, and one who's be like the mythical, the scientifical one who's like, the lead detective, checking out the crime scenes, trying to figure out the source and whatever the case. They're investigating to find someone's missing or whatever case that they're on. They're not a fabricated character who's just, two people like, oh, we're just going to put these two characters together and just say, yeah, they're a private eye. They're investigators and just leave it at that. What's their backstory? Do they have the capability to do it? You clearly can see that they both have the capability to handle themselves out and they're good to go from there.
Yes. Yeah. I liked, so you still keep the same origin, what we saw on the Netflix series. Okay, start it off and maybe do a quick flashback, have them have that camaraderie there within their own series. Then I would really want to see that storyline, that origin of let's fly them off to Hong Kong and start from there, dealing with the death of Misty's grandfather. Incorporate that storyline somehow. Have them do the investigation. Now, when I come to series like that, I always like something that's going to take you out to different locations around the world. Mm-hmm. Really use the characters as much as possible. They're more refined, so they would go around the world or multiple different places within, Hong Kong or around that area.
Tokyo.
Exactly. Around Tokyo. Take me around Tokyo. I want to see different parts of Tokyo, but then it's also going to come back to the American side of it, just to have that tangibility, because we know every hero in the Marvel universe pretty much lives in New York.
Love it.
This is where it would get interesting. Yeah. Let them deal with the grandfather, try to deal with his murder, deal with it as a murder mystery, almost like a buddy film, like a buddy cop film. But I don't want the jokey bits like overly done. Make the odd times, just to take away a little humor. Well written. Don't sell these actresses short at all.
Right.
And when you get a pairing of cultures, it's always fun. I mean, this is why Rush Hour is going in for Rush Hour 4.
Facts. I just heard that.
Right. Okay. This is why Lethal Weapon did Lethal Weapon numbers, right? Okay. Anytime you get a mix in culture, it's always fun to have that tongue-in-cheek moment. But with now a female perspective, keep it how it was in the series. Keep it gritty, a little bit of levity, but let's get away from New York. Let's start with, I got to go back home and I'm coming with you, so to speak. Let them start in Hong Kong. Let them really go and explore it. After watching the other series that Disney's done, for example, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where there were different places around the world. Moon Knight, different places around the world. Right. All right, let's go with that. Let's expand and keep that going. I really want to see Daughters of the Dragon. This is where people, I think, we've missed out on. As I said, I was more excited for that. Like Luke Cage and Power Man and Iron Fist. I always thought, okay, they're more based in New York. They don't really see their adventures spanning around the world. It's really New York, or it goes to Kung Lung. Okay. Yeah. But come on, Misty, Colleen, regardless of, Cyclops, regardless of Iron Fist as they're dating, that they can still run into Sabretooth. Because they did. Right. They ran into multiple people within the Marvel universe, be it if they were helping them or fighting against them. It doesn't have to be always cemented in the Daredevil world, Hell's Kitchen world. They are more worldly out of all the people that we mentioned. Right. The rest of them are usually Hell's Kitchen. That's where they want to be held up. And these two have bigger pictures and sights, and their storylines can go way beyond that. So I really want, those two. Give me Rosario Dawson as a common thread. Bring back, Jessica, bring back Simone. That to me was Daughters of the Dragon. And I was more intrigued when these characters showed up in Luke Cage or Iron Fist than I was sometimes the main show, depending on what was happening at the storyline. I was really invested when she got in that part, and I saw, oh, here comes the arm. And then, Tony Stark, donated the robot arm. I'm like, that's good. I don't need to see Stark to know Stark is present.
Right.
That's how I see this really breaking down. And their storylines, if you read the first ones in The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, part 1, okay, they're kicking butt and taking names. Part 2, they get captured by the bad guy. They get, captured, dragged out, injected with drugs like heroin. They just trying to mind it. It's wow. Like Chris Claremont, you went deep, son.
He went in. He was taking lives. Literally taking our souls.
Yes. And even in context with that, Colleen turns around and she's able to flush that stuff out of her system. And like, how'd you do it? And then Misty was like, that's something that Iron Fist would do, that you would sit there and meditate to get past the addiction and the cramps and the withdrawal. She's like, I only seen Iron Fist do something like that. That tells you what kind of level she's already on.
Facts.
Yep. So that's how I feel about this property. And this is why I was really excited, because as I said, it's a lot more open. This would have been like Birds of Prey by DC Comics. Could have been the Marvel's version of Birds of Prey.
Facts.
By far. You take Diana, the Black Canary, you take, Batgirl, you take the original Batgirl, the new Batgirl, the Tower. Okay, that's your trio. That's Birds of Prey, how it started off. Or Huntress, okay, and Black Canary. These two.
Yeah, this could definitely be the Marvel's equivalent of it. And there's enough, like you said, there's enough meat on the bone. There's enough connectivity that you just did a good part. It made me think in regard to referencing to Stark.
Mm-hmm.
Now, out of this group of individuals that we were talking about, the Deadly Hand and Kung Fu universe, let's just call that for right now.
Right. Okay.
You can see right now, out of the different levels, the Son of the Tigers, White Tiger, Daughters of the Dragon. Why is it that you can realize the Daughters of the White Dragon has connection to the top tier of the Marvel characters? That's a very mind blowing thing. If you don't think, you got to step back and think about it. Like you said, Misty was dating Cyclops from the X-Men.
Yeah.
Cyclops from the X-Men? That's a big connection right there. So
right.
If anybody's watching this, send this off to the right people. Let the individual in the world of Marvel and Disney say, listen, you have something there. You still have. It's not a have. You have something there. Is on pause. Unpause it. Unpause that series. Bring back the characters. If you want to build back from Defenders, hey, Daredevil is coming back. So it just gives you the opportunity that you can slowly start weaning back to the shelf of Luke Cage, back to the shelf of Iron Fist, back to the shelf of bringing it back to Jessica Jones, bring back the shelf of Defenders. And then once you start, clear, give life back to them. Colleen and Wendy. Colleen and Misty are in the wing. That's what I was trying to say. That's why it was
right. I like that.
Colleen and Misty are in the wing of Night. Yeah, close. Anyway, waiting to get back on the trail. This is what we could do. So I'm just saying, who else has this top tier connection to Stark, to the X-Men, to the Avengers, to you know what I mean? Top tier.
Yes.
So Daredevil. It's this top tier. So there are characters who have a good chance of being received by people once it's written properly, and I don't see it can't go wrong. Like you said, we were watching the show not to sound bad. I'll speak for me, not to sound bad, but I was looking for Simone to get a little my arm. Oh, that means she's getting it. Oh, she got away. Simone, you just missed it by that much.
Right,
and she got it. So right. I'm like looking forward to hoping that someone takes an interest and goes back and just check and see check the stats, check the ratings, see if people were interested when those characters were coming on the scene. They must have, because you gave, like you said, you gave Colleen three episodes in the sense of fighting Danny, being that. Misty was always having a heavy conversation with Mr. Luke Cage. So you're not bringing this character in for one time and then disappear. You brought them in to build something. I think they were already on the verge of doing that. Unfortunately, whatever happened, and it just paused. It's time to unpause. But it sounds like you guys are investing in that already. So let's continue.
Yeah, I think they were really testing the waters, to tell you the truth, because those two characters would come in. You brought in Colleen and you bring in Misty. Now, here's the thing. At one point, Colleen and Misty are working for Jerry Hogarth. Now, Jerry Hogarth in Netflix show was played by Carrie Ann Moss, right? Who was in the Matrix. But in the comic book, then that was a gender swap. In the comic book, Jerry Hogarth was a man. Right. And he was a very wealthy man who had his own, company and firm and private jet. So this is how they would fly around. If anyone wants to put some dots together, I think it's, now don't quote me, I think it's issue 107 or something like that around there of the X-Men. I'd have to double check the number, but it's when the X-Men are flying back from the Savage Land and they meet Alpha Flight for the first time. The plane gets grounded in Calgary because Shaman whips out a storm last minute. They're forced to land, but that big private jumbo jet they're on is Jerry Hogarth's jet, where you have Colleen on the plane along with Misty, and they use that plane to go. So that's how they kind of worked it out, that Colleen and Cyclops at that point had a long conversation. But that was our first appearance by Alpha Flight, not Guardian or Vindicators is going by. That's when he brought in the rest of the team, and we got to see, Vindicator, Snowbird, Shaman, Sasquatch. That's when they brought that team in, and that was written by who? Once again, Chris Claremont.
Yep.
And drawn by John Bryan, and that's who generated all this. So that was a nice crossover. And that was Jerry Hogarth's jet, not one of these big jumbo jet, privately well done, custom made, like how Drake flies around right now. This is where, so to me, I would love to see, bring back Carrie Ann Moss. We understand what her role was like and how it kind of ended off, but it would be still kind of cool to see them working for her law firm or company and going around trying to find certain objects and let that be a gateway. So there's a lot of gateways, I think, overall for the series of Daughters of the Dragon.
Right.
So I said, we're not casting it. It ain't broke, don't fix it. I believe, give me a couple of seasons, and that can intertwine with other people making a guest appearance. So they can be looking for the medallion that they were using in Sons of the Tiger or White Tiger. Let that be a case they got to figure out and solve and where it came from. And maybe let one of those characters be more in the background. Let them start off in Hong Kong and solving that mystery of her grandfather's death. Let it be, maybe there's a case that haunts Misty Knight that she was not able to solve, and something from that case comes back to haunt her or start, and they start down another thing. That's how many openings they are for this that don't have to rely on Daredevil, Iron Fist, Power Man. None of them. They stand on their own. I know it just needs a good writing team behind it. It needs to have that same level of treatment and budget behind it. And it has to have, as I said, Jessica and Simone. It has to have those two actresses back for it.
Completely.
Yeah, don't give me nothing else. Give me something else. We gotta have some problems. Now, I understand that they're working on other projects, but once again, we know actresses and actors film projects, when they're taking a hiatus, their summer hiatus or from the show. So come on, make it together. Even if it's just a short-lived, 4-episode kind of run, give me that. Give me that.
Yeah.
Give me something. I love I love world building. This is where it can be world building, and you don't have to get every person that's a female to show up in the show. No. I'm just saying the comment thread to me would be the night nurse, Rosario Dawson, and I'm good with that. Jerry Hogarth, some kind of connection there. Okay, I'm good with that. And then let's go. That's my 2 cents.
All right, that's a good 2 cents. That's a very good 2 cents. More like $7, but we'll go 2 cents. No, but literally, you're breaking it down very well for anybody to understand these characters and realizing the possibilities and the options that could be laid out. That they have enough meat, they have enough bone, they have enough structure, connections, like I'm saying, to intertwine with anybody else in the Marvel comic universe. So you have the ability to, like saying, go back and start the show with started off in the sense that, because you see in issue 32 of that Deadly Hands of Kung Fu,
right?
They're already together. Already together, so they already have a friendship bond already. So you can clearly start that off by saying they're already been working together, whatever the case would be. Maybe you will say they're not in Nightwing investigation mode as yet.
True.
But these are the fundamentals that made them understand that, listen, we can work good together. We're just doing little odd stuff around the place, just trying to figure stuff out. And now getting word that her grandfather passed away, and he was murdered, kind of scenario. Something happened to him. That was a big mystery. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Colleen says, I got to investigate this. I got to go and check this out. I'm coming with you, which means they've already been paired, but they've already worked together. So let's just start the series from there. And you're right. You can branch off there from so many different places. There's so many places. Again, even as you said something about the Jade, the Jade amulet. Yeah, again, go back, start talking about that in conversation or something like that. We hear them talk about, or someone mention about the Jade amulet, and it's not in the forefront of that particular mystery.
Right.
But it's something that Misty like, oh, shit, what's that? We'll come back to that. and that's it. You know, just do the typical West Indian, just like, let me just put it here. And
yeah, right.
And gone. That's, to me, would be a perfect way to, like, okay, season 2. This is what we're going with.
Yeah. As treasure hunters to a certain degree, not, you know, it's so their investigation, they can be treasure hunters looking for objects of art, trying to bring back things from, you know, family heirlooms, important things that people deem a lot of value on that have shown up on the black market, and they're trying to deal with that. And let's not forget, within the Netflix series with Daredevil, I think, yeah, Daredevil and Iron Fist, there was a lot of other gangs, you know, within, you know, not superhero gangs, but gangs within New York, other that would fall into that world that they can deal with, I think, a lot better than the main two guys that should have dealt with it, how they wrote them. So they can pick out a nemesis easy. Come on now.
They can fight the Teflon gang that was with Hawkeye.
Oh, yeah. Those guys.
Yeah, exactly. Just the same. They're outside of Hell Kitchen. Again, we want non-Hell Kitchen gangs. We're talking outside of that. Look, we can pass that square footage area of the city. Let's talk to some other guys, and that's it.
Done. That's the show. That's the show right there.
I'm out.
So, you know, everyone, I hope you guys are listening and curious about these characters too, and want to find out more. So obviously support the books, go and check them out. I really think that if you look back at classic Iron Fist, you look back at the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, you look back at those miniseries we told you to go and check out with Daughters of the Dragon, Nightwing, you're not going to be disappointed. You're going to sit there and wonder the same thing I wonder. How come we didn't get more? How come we never got a full out series? Especially now where everyone's looking for diversity. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. This, like, you have it. It's like you want something diverse and they have it, but they don't use it. And that's where I think the failing is. It's not being utilized. Even if they work for other companies, because once again, Heroes for Hire would take a job for $1 to do, you know, the good. They were in a nice office and flying around on private jets. I can see them working for Stark Industries, where, you know, they got reached out by Happy Hogan saying, hey, we got to find something. I want to keep this very discreet. This has gone missing. Can you retrieve it? What about Iron Man? Oh, no, he's too high profile. We need someone to keep this discreet. Here you go. Okay, that just loops the world together.
Go. I got another loop.
One in.
I got another in. She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. Why can't they work for the firm? They can work for the firm.
Yep.
They can work for the firm.
Yep.
Stuff to be done, handled, you know, discreetly or even non-discreetly, just stuff to be handled. Again, they brought She-Hulk to be the forefront of the hero type of firm section of that.
Yeah, the division. Yeah.
Division and everything along the line. So why can't you have Nightwing to help assist in particular manners that are now superhero type of, you know, cases that, listen, we can't have Foggy. We can't have Foggy running out here doing stuff like that. Foggy Nielsen, you know, he's just human. Now for Matt Murdock, then we can understand it, but we're not supposed to know that Matt Murdock is, but we'll leave it at that. So all we'll say is that you hire Colleen, you hire Misty, we can hire the Nightwing investigation to take care of certain situations that are deemed down your alley.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's do this.
That's right. Because I said Heroes for Hire is a blunt force instrument. That's the way I look at it when you get Iron Fist and Power Man together.
That's all it is.
Colleen and Misty are a scalpel. They are finesse. They showed that. We need more of that. So, as I said, I'm not casting it. I'm just going to put up the actresses' pictures. You know who they are, right? And that's who, to me, really, that was perfect casting right there. I know some of you might have a difference of opinion, and that's cool. Put it in the comments below. Let us know. Let's have a discussion. But to me, that's the casting right there. So any last words, Rod, while we wrap this one up? I know it's more kind of short and sweet, but we had to talk about it.
No, we had to talk about it. No, everything is good. Daughters of the Dragon, they are a unique pair that you realize are in the limelight or aren't in the limelight. They are already there. They're already there. The connections that they have, the possibilities that they can bring to the world, they're already there. Like I said, they're intertwining with too many people just not to forsake them and think that, I don't know about that. They're already there. So all it is, they just need to be given the right direction and give the right nudge, and just kind of like, like a kid on the side stage, you give a nudge into the sunlight. Let's go. Oh, okay, here I am. That's all it is. That's all we need.
True that. So once again, Disney, I know you had a little bit of a shakeup, and you got it back one of the CEOs that used to be CEO. MCU, you're all part of Disney. Let's get down to it. So I need you all to draft up a letter and send that over to Jessica Henwick. You need to draft up another letter, send it over to Simone Missick. And then you need to turn around and draft up some proper contracts. And then you need to reach out to a good story writer. And now when I say Marvel and MCU, I mean both of you, because one should complement the other. So we need a good comic book with the two. And then we need a good screenplay for these actresses to really sink their teeth into and go for it. And then let it just play out. You're always looking for the next big thing. Sometimes everyone's like, oh, it's got to be new this, new that. No, we're all about, let's go back and bring it to the forefront. And this is why we do this show, because there's characters that get missed or not represented enough.
Right.
Colleen Wing and Misty Nightwing, Daughters of the Dragon, did not get represented enough. They should have definitely had their own thing going on. So that's my pitch for it. Make it worthwhile for the actresses. I'm sure they would love to come back if done right. Don't make it look like how it was the Blade movie and the Blade comic book when the Blade movie came out. The Blade movie with Wesley Snipes, when it came out, the first one, everyone was like, yeah. And then Bart Sears was drawing the Blade comic. Bart Sears, I like that artist a lot. And then, but the comic book, before he even got all into it, there was another comic book before that. And it was like, it didn't seem to capture what the movie was doing. This is an opportunity to come clean slate with characters you already have the rights to. Don't lose them by not using them.
There you go.
Here we go. That's it. Again, I'm Barry 3D.
I'm Rod C.
This has been the Iconist Podcast. And as I always say, this whole world was started with a pencil, a piece of paper, and lots of imagination. Keep on dreaming.
Let's go.
Support the books. We out. Out.
My
Maybe we
arm.
can get sponsored with the Ginsu knives. Okay.